Sorry everybody, it's Xilicks here, and this is going to be a video guide for my Minion Necromancer build. Now, I've been using this build for a very long time. I've been using this build actually since I originally made my Necro, which you can actually see on my channel, the video of the creation of this character, which was a bit over a year ago. Whenever I was first testing out Necromancer in this game, I made this build and I really liked it then. And I didn't think it would be that good for my first Minion Necro build, but I still use it today. Almost trait for trait. I've changed a few things. I originally used to use Axe Dagger, but now I use Axe Focus, and then Staff. So let's get right into it here. So on the Axe, you're going to want to have Force, and on the Focus you want the Sigil of Peril. The Focus stacks Vulnerability, so you want the increased duration. The Force skill stacks 4 stacks of Vulnerability, and it bounces around. So good for group fights, good for anything with adds, like a Ranger pet will bounce between the Ranger and its pet. Another Minion Necro will bounce around, etc. Then on the Staff you want to have a Force Sigil and a Leeching Sigil. Now, this build is surrounded a lot by life siphoning, so you might think, why wouldn't you use Dagger as your main hand? The reason why I do not use Dagger as main hand is because the range is just not good enough. With this build, people are going to try and kite you, and you need that range from Axe or Staff. The Dagger range is just not good enough, and you're just going to get out-kited and eventually beat. I use Doyak runes for extra health regeneration, and the toughness and vitality, and then the soldier amulet. So at the end, we're looking at our stats here. Our power is 2.2k, which is pretty good for being tanky. It's obviously not insane power. Our armor is just shy of being 3,000, which is amazing for this build. We're sitting at 28,000 health. Our crit chance and our precision is very low, but we don't plan on critting at all. We have 300 healing power, which definitely helps out with all the healing that we're going to be doing, and 30% boon duration, which will help with the regeneration that we're going to be giving ourselves for more heal. Our condition duration does not really matter since we're not really doing any conditions other than vulnerability, but we do have the sigil for extra vulnerability, but vulnerability is going to be our main condition since we're also stacking it with our Axe auto attack. So taking a look at the traits, I went with 20660. Now, this might look a little weird because you would think, why wouldn't you want to go at least 4 in Despite for Training of the Master? Minions do 25% increased damage. Now, this does seem very good, but then you'd have to be taking 2 out of one of these trait lines, which you can just not afford to do. You'd be losing so much tankiness if you tried to do that, and it just it would not end well. So with Spite, we went with Reaper's Blast. Life Blast grants Might, which is the auto attack in our Death Shroud. So every time we're using our auto attack, we get Might for almost 20 seconds, which is a fairly long time for a stack of Might. So I mean, you can just go into Death Shroud, attack a few times, and you get however many stacks of Might for like 20 seconds each, so that's pretty nice. Then Death Magic's going to be one of our main lines here. So Minion Master reduces recharge on minion skills. It's an obvious trait to take. Shrouded removal, lose a condition whenever you enter Death Shroud. We are not using consume conditions, so we need that extra condition removal. Even though we do have a lot of health and we can handle conditions well, it's good to have at least something to clear it with. Then Flesh of the Master. Minions have increased health and gain bonus toughness for each minion you control. Now, whenever I spawn in all of these minions, there's, I believe, 7. No, 6. There's 6, my bad. Once we spawn in all of these, our toughness is now, well, our armor, rather, is above 3k, which is very, very good for this build, so you want to have all these minions up as long as possible to keep your toughness high. Then in Blood Magic, we have Blood First. Siphoning health is more effective. Now, this trait works very well with Vampiric Master. Minions siphon health and transfer to you. This also goes well with our heal, because he's going to be siphoning health constantly, along with everyone else siphoning health. But this guy, I believe, does a passive life siphon also. Then we're going to be getting regeneration from our Mark of Blood and regeneration from Reaper's Touch. So we're going to have regeneration on top of life siphon, on top of the regeneration from Duliak runes, and then we have this heal that we can use at any time. Now, if you are 1v1ing someone who you know is using conditions, I would recommend switching to consume condition. It's going to help you more if they're using conditions, because you do not have a lot of Condi removal. But any other time in a regular fight, use the Blood Fiend. Then for the last trait, we're going to be using Feeded Consumption. Each summoned minion draws conditions from their master every 10 seconds. So that's a 6 Condi drop every 10 seconds. I can't argue with that. That trait is just so useful. Now, if you do really want to take 2 out of one of these for the 2 in Spite, you would take 2 out of Death Magic, get rid of Shrouded Removal, and then replace this trait with Flesh of the Master. So you'd have 4 in Death Magic and 4 in Spite. And then you would take the either Axe Training, which would help, or Training of the Master. Minions do 25% increased damage. So now, even though we're tanky, we're still going to be doing a lot of DPS. So you want to usually start a fight in Staff. The 4 skill in Staff is going to be your main burst damage, and then you can fear them away, and now all your minions are going to start attacking. So then you switch to Axe and you start stacking vulnerability with your auto attack and the 4 skill, and then you do the second attack, and things die very quickly, as you saw. With all these minions hitting on top of you hitting, and powers your main stat from your amulet, you do have a lot of power still. So you're not going to be doing crazy raw DPS, but with all the minions, it's still decent DPS. So just keep in mind that the Putrid Explosion from the Bone Minions, it will kill them, however it does a lot of DPS. So if you notice their health is low, you can pop the Bone Minions, and the Bone Minions will explode and do a lot of DPS to your target. Whenever you blow up both of them, it's going to be hitting around 4k. Also, it's an AoE explosion, so you can hit 5 targets, and it's a blast finisher. This blast finisher and the Putrid Mark are your only blast finishers in this build. Note that this also removes 3 conditions, and just make sure you know what all these do, because it's good to know what they all do. Then the Bone Fiend will be your source of Immobilize. You can also immobilize, or never mind. Not on this weapon set you can't immobilize. I was thinking something else for a second. Then the Shadow Fiend will blind for you, so if it targets down, you can blind them and stomp, and then hope that they won't hit you because they'll miss and interrupt you. And then the Flesh Golem, this is also a lot of DPS here. Just alone with this rush, if they'll come over here, that's also a lot of damage on its own. It's on a 40-second cooldown, so it's not the best cooldown. It also brings your Flesh Golem kind of away from the fight. But that rush kind of works similar to how the FGS rush works, where it's a very quick burst of DPS. And if it's against a wall, like if he's running into a wall like this, every single hit of the rush is going to hit, and it's going to do a lot of damage. So if you can try to fear someone into a wall, and then they'll go into the wall, and then you can rush them with the Flesh Golem. Then as far as the Death Shroud rotation goes, you're going to want to Tainted Shackle and then Life Transfer. If you try to Life Transfer first, you won't be able to Tainted Shackles. Then just know what the other skills do. The 3 skills of Fear, so you can use that to fear off targets. Notice we also have the Might. So if someone's like stomping someone, you can just like fear them away and then res your ally. Dark Path's the teleport, and then the auto attack does a lot of DPS, and it also gives you might. So the Tainted Shackles and Life Transfer, they're AoE hits, so that's why you usually want to start with that, even in a 1v1. And you always Tainted Shackle, then Life Transfer, just because Tainted Shackle is an instant cast where Life Transfer needs to cast for a while, so you can do them both at the same time if you do it in that order. So yeah, that's pretty much everything build-wise, traits-wise, skill-wise. Also, another thing you can do is, in a 1 versus 1 scenario, you might want to consider using a Summon Fleshworm, because the Summon Fleshworm does a lot of single target DPS, and if you put it far away, you can use it to kind of teleport away in the middle of a fight, and I guess gain some health back while you're away from your target. It also does a lot of single target DPS, as I said, and you'd usually want to swap that for Shadow Fiend. However, I'd recommend in an actual PvP match, not just a 1v1, using the Shadow Fiend. Now I kind of want to go over the role of this build. With this build, you're really tanky, and it's a really strong 1v1ing set. You're very easily able to tank a home point or a mid node. If you have a stronger home bunker, like let's say a Staff Guardian or a Hambo Warrior that really knows what they're doing, or a Spirit Ranger, you might want to consider going to the mid fight, because in a group scenario, you do have a lot of AoE, and you do also have a lot of single target DPS. So you're going to be helping out your team a lot if you're in the mid fight. This build, in my opinion, you want to get to the mid fight, because that's where you're going to be doing the most, you're going to be the most helpful there. You're very easily able to res people because you can fear off people stomping them. You can knock them down with the Flesh Golem. You have a lot of interrupts. And you have just a lot of AoE, so you're very strong in a team fight. However, if you do not have a good home bunker, you can definitely bunk home. That's not a problem if you have to bunk home. I know a lot of games that I'm playing on this build, I'm usually bunking home, just because no one else on my team is able to bunk home. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the build in a nutshell. Now, as always, I'm gonna try to get a couple fights in here to show off, so I'll be back in a little bit. I'd figure while I'm loading into this map, I'd mention really fast that the Necromancer, this build, it's pretty strong on the Trebuchet, because if someone tries to take the Treb from you, you can fear them away, knock them down, immobilize them, whatever, and you'll probably win most of the 1v1s of people trying to push you on Treb. This is why we can't have nice things. I go on a 1v1 server looking for 1v1s, and everyone's just killing each other. You know what? I'll record some TPVP matches later, and I'll get a montage going of fights and stuff instead of trying to get some legit 1v1s going. Everyone just wants to kill each other. Alright, so thank you for watching the build guide. I will try to post those fights tomorrow if I get any good ones. Thank you all for watching. My name is Xilicks. I'll see you guys next time. Okay, thanks, bye.